All right, y'all, welcome back to another episode of That's Fucked Up. We have a legend amongst us today.
A legend.
One of the top, if not the top, motivational speaker.
Listen, Josh, first of all, he's my top for sure.
Did anyone hear what I said? Did I say the top, if not the top motivational speakers?
You should have said just top.
Yeah, just top.
Like I don't want to get beat up by that big dude on the street.
Tim Robbins?
Yeah, it's like Tony Robbins take one of those bear claws and murder me. You know, I got
Tony Robbins can't do anything with our guest today.
That's right, Tony. All right. So our guest today is legendary motivational speaker. Used to be in the House of Representatives in Ohio. He's done a lot of things. Les Brown, welcome to the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Josh, and thank you so much, Dee. It's a plum-pleasing pleasure, as well as a privilege to be here.
I love it.
Yes, well, here at That's Fucked Up Podcast, everyone's looking for me as though I do all the research around here.
You do all the research, but I know about this man too.
Exactly, I know you do, but we can start off with maybe your beginnings. This is the second guest we've had in not too long from Miami, Florida. You were born in the...
Yes, who was the other guest?
Oh... What was her name?
Sasha,
yes.
Santiago. She's from Miami, too.
Oh, okay.
A YouTube star.
Yeah, YouTube star.
All right. Very good. Yeah, I was born in Liberty City, a poor section of Miami, Florida, with a twin brother. And we were born in an abandoned building on a floor in Liberty City, 65th Street and 17th Avenue. And we became foster kids. And fortunately, we were adopted. And I always, when I speak, I said, all that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe to my mother. My twin brother and I just recently, last year, saw for the first time a picture of our biological mother and father.
Wow.
And so we were conceived in Gainesville, Georgia, but our birth mother was married. And so her husband was away in World War II. I was with a cousin I just discovered, and they were talking on public television about a bastard, somebody that was born out of wedlock. So I looked at Tiffany, my cousin that I just discovered. I said, Tiffany, am I a bastard? She said, I thought you knew. She said, but you're the happiest bastard I know. I said, oh, thank you very much. Yeah. So our birth mother came down to Miami and gave birth to us with our birth father. And ironically, my birth mother was the motivational speaker. And her mother, Beulah Rucker, they have the Beulah Rucker Museum in Gainesville, Georgia. She was a motivational speaker, and she spoke with Mary McLeod Bethune and Eleanor Roosevelt, and they have this museum in honor of her and named a school after her and a church. Wow. And they were community activists and very engaged in helping people to get a larger vision of themselves. She taught herself to read. Her father, my grandmother's father, was a slave. And so after slavery, they were sharecroppers. Where you lived on the plantation because you had nowhere to go, you had no money. And so she taught herself to read from the newspaper that was used to insulate the walls from the winters. And now my first book was called You Gotta Be Hungry. And then this news article, it said she was hungry to learn.
That's crazy.
It said coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous.
Yeah. What's even crazier about that is that I know you talk about a lot of times that when you're upbringing, you kind of struggled in education a little bit.
Yes.
It was really trying for you, and your mother taught herself how to read. So obviously she had a difficult time with that too. And yet you guys both became motivational speakers. Also, you changed the world and helped so many people achieve their goals. That's wild. And you guys weren't connected. You never met your mom, right?
No, just saw the pictures of her. And Our birth father, yeah. When I was in the 5th grade, I was labeled educable mentally retarded and put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade. Failed again when I was in the 8th grade at Booker T. Washington High School. But I had a high school teacher, Mr. Leroy Washington, who was an instructor, but I was never in his class. I just followed him around. I admired his oratorical skills, and he had the kind of personality of UD. I was looking for a friend named MacArthur who was in his class, and he said, young man, go to the board and go in the front of the room and work this problem out for us. And I said, sir, I can't do that. And he said, why not? I said, I'm not one of your students. He said, do it anyhow. I said, I can't, sir. And the other students started laughing, saying, he's Leslie. He's got a twin brother, Wesley. Wesley is smart. He's DT. And he asked, what's DT? And they said, he's the dumb twin. And they started laughing. And he came from behind his desk as I said, I am, sir. He said, don't you ever say that again. Someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality. Do you hear me? And I said, yes, sir. And part of what we do and what you do when you have this program, how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. And so the information that you share with your guests and the things that you've experienced, what we do is distract, dispute, and inspire. We distract people from their story, and through the information that you're sharing, you break down and dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to make new choices with their lives and become, as Mother Teresa would say, a pencil in the hand of God and start writing a new chapter for themselves.
How did you figure that out? And you're so young and in school and realize you need to move in this direction. And not everybody already identified you a certain way, which wasn't very flattering. And then you really saw yourself differently.
Because of that relationship. When he said someone's opinion of you does not have to become your reality, he dismantled the story that I believed about myself. Faith comes by hearing and hearing and hearing, even if it's a lie. But there's something else that happens that Harvard University, they did this 85-year study, and it's called your reference group. And they said people who are becoming successful in difficult times have a reference group that empowers them. Sidney Poitier, the Academy Award winner, he said something I buy into. Then he wrote the book called The Measure of a Man. He said, when you go for a walk with someone, something happens without being spoken. Either you adjust to their pace or they adjust to your pace. So I followed him around. I loved how he dressed, how he spoke. Not knowing my biological father, I adopted him as my spiritual father, and I wanted to be like him. He was my reference group. He was a person that I looked at and said, I want to be like that.
And that's the teacher, Leroy Washington.
Yes.
Awesome.
And going with when you were in school and you were called special, like I was when I started in school, was put like in a special class. How
we still think he may be special.
Hold on.
Alejandro.
Hold on.
Alejandro
We've been doing
alone.
this podcast for how long, Alejandro? And you've never brought up to us your struggles as a slow kid.
He knows you're going to tease him.
Exactly.
Well, that's what the world needs bullies.
Can I
to
ask my
make men
question?
like this guy right
Exactly.
here. Okay?
And then he's here, and now I finally have somebody to confide.
Yeah,
this
that
with.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I got made fun a lot in my school because I got transferred to an English-speaking school when I grew up in Puerto Rico, and I got made fun of a lot because of my accent compared to the other students. How do you, from similar experiences, and don't let that get to you and grow bitter against those people?
Alejandro, in life, we always have a choice. When things happen to us, we can choose to be bitter or we can choose to be better. My daughter, Samaya, she was teaching out here in California. And so she was in the teacher's lounge, and one instructor said the kids that she had, which were Spanish-speaking kids, they can't learn and they were stupid and dumb. And so she said, you shouldn't say that. And she was offended because her father was called stupid and dumb, me. So she said, can we switch? They went to the principal and allowed her to take those Spanish-speaking kids who had not mastered English yet, and the other instructor went to the English-speaking students. When they got their report cards, These kids did extremely well. Why? Because look at a man the way that he is, he only becomes worse. But look at him if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. So my daughter saw them as achievers and saw them being students that could achieve and accomplish more than they can ever begin to imagine. And she treated them like that. And their grades academically reflected the treatment that my daughter gave to them. And the principal called her in and said, "You were right, and we apologize." And I've instructed all the other students, all the other teachers, don't ever call these kids stupid or dumb, because they're not. They just don't know the language yet. And you must be patient and persistent and see them as they're having greatness within them to accomplish things in life.
Wow.
Look at you now, Alejandro.
Look at me now.
You got your own podcast.
Where I speak English.
Look at those kids back in. Where'd you go to school?
Well, the school it was named Commonwealth. Like when I switched, and I come from Puerto Rico, which is a colony, but now they changed the name to Commonwealth to, make it sound better.
Yeah.
It's weird how you even came into my life, Les. I never even told you this story. I started watching motivational videos. I was just watching them for maybe about 2 weeks, actually, before I met you. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how life kind of moves around. We have a mutual friend, Judge Faith. I don't know. You remember Judge Faith?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And just by chance, because we had the same publicist, we were friends, and we both were going on the Steve Harvey show from time to time, and we would run into each other. And just by chance, she was like, "Hey, one of my favorite motivational speakers is coming in town. And it's Les Brown." I said, "You know what's crazy? I literally had started watching your videos 2 weeks prior to her mentioning that." And it's weird how certain people just come into your life at a certain time. And I was truly inspired. And you were so gracious in meeting me and talking to me. And I felt like I got so much out of that. It just made me even stronger in life.
They say you can tell a lot about a person's character based upon how you treat people that you consider unimportant. To me, everyone, they all have greatness within them. I was asked by Tavis Smiley, our mutual friend, he said, "Do you believe that everybody have what we have?" I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Everybody's born dumb, naked, and speechless." They have to learn. If you're not willing to learn, no one can help you. But if you're willing to learn, no one can stop you. And we're living in a time that, as Peter Drucker calls, that we must learn, relearn, and relearn, because everything is moving fast at an accelerated rate. We're in that place what Einstein said, the thinking that has brought me this far has created some problems that this thinking can't solve. Many people are failing today because they're coming into a new world order with an old mindset. And that mindset can't cut it in this place where we are right now.
How do you come up with all these dang sayings? How do you do that? Like, it's crazy to me. Your words are so powerful. Is that something that just happened naturally for you? Did you study for it? What were your motivational speakers that you love?
I heard Brian Tracy, who's a very good friend of mine, say the average American reads one book a year. Now, so here I am.
Josh, you're not even average.
Yeah. So
for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm minus.
Yeah. So
Audiobooks don't count.
Yeah. So I'm here looking at ways in which I can reinvent myself and increase my value and the impact of my life. And he said, in 5 years, when the average American would have read 5 books, if you make it a commitment to read 1 book, he said, you will be an expert because you would have read 60 books. So I decided to read 3 books a month to this day, even at 78. And so as a result of that, my taking in information, because I wanted to speak and I wanted to be able to stand out. And because there's no one that looked like me on these stages, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar. And what I noticed about them, they were giving information from the book Think and Grow Rich. If information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. Okay? It's not like that. What I do and how I'm training speakers at this stage of my life, because it's been said that there's no success without successors, teaching people how to tell their story and create an experience with their story. Oliver Wendell Holmes said that once a man or woman's mind has been expanded with an idea, concept, or experience where you expand their minds, touch their heart, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was. I needed to give myself a sustainable, as Warren Buffett would say, competitive advantage. And so that's why I continue to read, because when the people that you talk to know as much as you know about nutrition and how to stay healthy, then they no longer need you. They go someplace else.
Damn. Well, I guess I need to start reading books.
Don't be scared of it.
Who's scared of it?
Don't be scared.
Yeah, don't be scared. What's going on?
Scared of nothing. But we'll retrace it like I do back to your days of just getting out of high school and running errands and being around the radio program, getting into the radio hosting. How did that go down there in Miami?
It went extremely well. People always ask me, and one of the things I'm doing is teaching people, those who have an interest in investing in themselves, and they can go to lesbrown.com and see the training that we're doing. And because the information industry where the three of you are, it is a $1 billion a day industry. Okay? And I'm going to share with you after this broadcast.
We need a bigger check.
How not to leave any money on the table. But when you look at it, this era of what Peter Drucker called the era of the 3 C's, accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. What we have to do now, and particularly because so many people are intimidated by artificial intelligence, so what I'm saying to the speakers that I'm training, listen, you want to begin to dispel that fear, because artificial intelligence don't have a heart. See, I came up during the time of Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye, and they had a song called Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, Baby. We are the real thing. And so this is a time that we have to be creative and innovative in how we begin to approach life, and we will always be ahead of artificial intelligence.
I love that.
Hear that? No one's going down for artificial intelligence. I think that's a big fear these days.
Without question, over 350 million jobs will be eliminated because of artificial intelligence. But the way that I look at it, and we must all be perpetual optimists, we must begin to understand what Elsie Robinson said, that things may happen around you and things may happen to you, but the only things that really count are the things that happen in you. So to me, over 350 million people will now become entrepreneurs. They'll come and be in charge of their life and chart their own destiny, because when you are conditioned to have a job is what you get paid for. But if you answer what it is that you're supposed to, the reason that the three of you do what you do is because your calling is something that you are made for, and you do it so well that people pay you to do it. You are so good and dominant in it, you cannot be ignored, because it's the calling on your life. A calling is something that you love it so much. You don't have to get paid to do it, but you do it so well that people want to pay you.
Damn. Podcasts. Is this my calling?
So how do we navigate? Because I feel like we're currently living in the era of misinformation, and now that anybody has a voice, anybody that shares an opinion can share it to millions of people. So how do we navigate what's true, what's not, what the higher ups wants to conceal from the, regular people like us?
Alejandro, very good question. George Bernard Shaw said the people that make it in this life, they look around for the circumstances or the environment that they want, and if they can't find them, they create them. There's information that the three of you share every day between each other, your conversations and your guests. Now, what if you just package that, have it captions, put music and images with it, and capture those special moments, have it properly edited, and put together a series that people can listen to on a regular basis to improve their health, to learn to how to begin to anchor themselves going through turbulent times, how to build stronger relationships, and that you have the DHERBS community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships, creating a community, a bubble of greatness and health and spiritual strength that allow people to deal with life every day. And those who sign up, I have a friend of mine named Stormy Wellington. Stormy used to be a stripper, dropped out of school at 14, became pregnant. She has a program called Girl, Hold My Hand. Over 5,000 subscribers, $47 a month. You can't tell me, Alejandro, with your charisma and presence and communication skills, and Dee and Josh, that you can't build the same community yourself. When I saw that, it said opportunity knocks on every door. I believe opportunity stands by silently waiting for you to recognize it. I said, hey, I'm going to do this myself. I'm one of her mentors. And so I'm now building a community of collaborative, achievement-driven, supportive relationships with people who can hear my voice. Everybody won't hear my voice, but there's some people that's going to hear Alejandro, some people that will resonate with cursing Josh.
Mostly it's
Oh man, let me finish. Josh said, "Don't call for me. I didn't call an Uber. I didn't call an Uber. Don't come over here. I'm just messing with you, Josh." And there's some people that's going to hear D. So you got 3 separate communities of people who will hear your voice and resonate with you. What we have to do now, we got the tools to capture this visually, put fonts with it, images that reflect what we're saying, and put it together, and don't even have to have tangible products. People can download it. You send them to a website where they can download it through a funnel, and the money will be in your account in 48 hours. There are more millionaires are being created now than any other time in history. And so, as I said, opportunity does not knock on every door, but it does stand by silently waiting for us to recognize it.
Is there a place where people go to like become de-informed? Because I feel like that's our space. Like, no one's getting very much smarter watching this podcast, to be honest. This might be the most educational part of our podcast of all time with you on here right now.
Is the smartest person that's ever been on this
Why do you
podcast.
think I'm wearing a turtleneck? You know, it's like,
yeah, I wondered. I was like,
up the show.
I was like, is Alejandro wearing a turtleneck?
But when you think about where we are, it's very special. Remember James Weldon Johnson, stony the road we trod, bitter the chesting rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed. There are people who've died for us to be here. We got access to information today. Ignorance today is a choice. We now have available to us information that we can have access to that will allow us to change the trajectory of our lives. So there's no excuse for not making it today. But the majority of people in the world are conditioned to focus on entertainment. They're going to listen to things that's got a beat, as opposed to listening to words that can empower them and that can extend their life. There's a book called Change or Die, and it was a study done by people who'd suffered recurring heart attacks. And Alan Dushman, who wrote this book, talked about the fact that they had a group of people, and they were told, if you change your eating habits, if you keep stress to a minimum, if you create a social group of people, like-minded people who are concerned about health and want to live and not have another heart attack because that next one will take you out, then you can live longer and not have another heart attack because of the eating style that we're putting together for you. 9 out of 10 stop and died. Most people, 9 out of 10 people will die rather than change, even when they have the information. So what's exciting about what you're doing, your personalities. And so you engage people in a conversation, and because of your personality, you're able to take people to a place in themselves that they can't go by themselves. And you create, with the laughter and the banter going back and forth, the want to, because you make it fun. And they say, wow, I want to do that, because they resonate with you. They can feel you. Somebody had me to listen to a guy and said, do you want to be on the show? I said, I'm not feeling him. No. And many of us make decisions like that, that if we don't feel an energy, a positive energy that says this would be a good fit, they don't do it.
Damn,
But
they must have not showed you my clips. AD just sent you me edited out, huh?
Forget all the misinformation that you sent out. You open conversations. And then, like what Les said, if they really want to know the truth, they'll research it.
Absolutely. And we outgrow things, and we change. We evolve. It's called delayed enlightenment. At one time, I was thinking one way, and then I saw something that allowed me to change my perspective. One of my favorite movies is Forrest Gump. You know, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And every time I've seen it, which I've seen it 4 times, I see something that I didn't see before, because my life is in a different place. And so we all have had those kind of experiences. So we evolve. That's what life is about.
AD doesn't believe in evolution.
What are you talking about? Well, he talks about...
He said we evolve. But
well, I believe in definitely that we evolve. He's talking about basically, he believes that humans came out of some pond or something like that. I don't believe in evolution in that extent.
That's above my pay grade.
Yeah, see, there you go. I just be like, we didn't all crawl out of some pond.
And I don't know if there was a videographer around to take a picture of us coming out of a pond. I don't know that.
No,
I'm focused on right here, right now, doing what I can, as George Washington Carver would say, with what I have, and never being satisfied, and knowing the best is yet to come.
That's right. I got an idea for you. You say you're 78, right?
Yes.
Seems about average age of a U.S. president these days. And, you know, we don't have any very good outlooks, man. What are you doing? There's nobody really on the horizon out there.
President. I'm for
yeah, that's
that.
what I'm saying.
I'm for all
Les
of
Brown
that.
for president. You've
Les
already
Brown.
been in legislation. I'm putting it out there just so you guys know.
We
Les
need to
Brown
get
for
that
president.
going. Les Brown for that sounds
This man
great.
can motivate the country to do better, to be better. I believe in you.
Did you ever want to do anything like that? I know you were in the
I
politics.
was in the Ohio legislature. I passed.
Did you hate it?
No, I loved it. I passed 14 bills my first term, because what I did is learn the arguments on both sides of the legislation, what the Republicans were doing, the independents, and the Democrats. And I developed relationships with them. And so I enjoyed it very much. There were people in the legislature who had been there for 20, 30 years and never got any legislation passed. They were just focused on putting out the legislature, the legislation they wanted to get passed, and asked the reference committee and the Speaker of the House to allow it to be argued upon. I didn't do that. I went and met the people who would be deciding on my legislation and developed a relationship with them. We're living in a time, the Surgeon General said, loneliness is at an epidemic level. People who decide to take DHERBS products, if they have other people that's doing the same thing, they're more likely to be consistent and disciplined, working together to improve their health, as opposed to a person just isolated. So what I did, I created a community of like-minded people while I was in the legislature. I said, tell me what are the things that you want in your district that your voters are looking for. And then not only did I go to the committee hearings, I argued it for it better than many of them did. So when I brought my legislation on the floor, I had been to different subcommittees and argued in behalf of legislation for their constituents. They said, Les Brown, Mamie Brown's boy, got a bill on the floor. I'm in. So it's about building relationships. That's major. and all getting to know each other, what we stand for, what we believe in, what is it that inspires us, what is it that touch our heart. And when you speak from your heart to the heart of the people that you represent, they're going to support you. They're going to have references of, I've told people about D's product because I bought into him before I ever took his products. And when I took his products, I would tell other people about it. But I bought into the man. People don't buy from you, they buy into you first. And then what it is you have to offer, then they want a part of that.
Speaking of relationships, I don't hear you talk about it a lot, but I was just curious, what was it like to be married to Gladys Stein?
Well, first of all, I want you to know I was the conductor of the midnight train, not one of the pips.
Talk that. I love that.
Yeah, don't make me go there, all right? It was very good and very fascinating, but our careers...
How'd you meet her?
At the Regal Theater in Chicago, I remember. And,
let's hear about it.
Yes. And so I went backstage. I asked the publicist who brought me there, I said, can I meet her? I've always admired her from the time when she made a song at 13 with Every Beat of My Heart. That was her first song. So she said yes. And so she took me to the dressing room. We started talking and we just had a synergy. So when I was leaving, she said, hey, Les Brown. I said, yes. She said, here's my number. You won't have to go through a publicist next time. And I looked at her and I heard something in my mind. I became very spiritual and I said, the Lord is my shepherd. I see what I want. Oh, behave. And that was the beginning. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. How long was y'all? 2 years?
No, we were together 5 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Publicly, I think it said you first came out at Maya Angelou's 65th birthday party when you guys were scoped out publicly. Is that true?
No, I'm not familiar with that story, but I did spend
That's on the internet, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, there's a lot of stuff on the internet, you know. But I spent a whole day with Maya Angelou. She was an incredible person, had a photographic memory. And while I was there, I challenged her. I said, how good is your memory? She said, I remember when I met Malcolm. I remember many people that you can name in history. I said, Langston Hughes. She said, I remember the color of the socks that he had when I met him in South Africa. And we had a long conversation. So I said, I'm going to say something and see, can you end it? I've never heard it before. Many a flower has bloomed, and she said, many a flower has bloomed unceasingly and wasted sweetness upon the cold desert air. That many talented and gifted persons have gone unnoticed, and the world never heard from them. I said, you got a photographic business? She humbled her brother up in here.
How'd you guys break up?
We did not break up.
Oh.
Our lives are going in two different directions. Her career was going and become more busy, and mine was too. And so we were passing each other like two ships in the middle of the night.
Okay.
Yes. So we didn't break up. I still love her, and she loved me. But it was about the busyness. Relationships require time. I don't believe in long-distance relationship. It requires commitment, continuity, and people willing to understand that in my position, I was about to write a book called In Order to Be in a Marriage with a Famous Woman, You've Got to Learn How to Be a Good Wife. And I was a good wife, honey. I washed dishes and everything. I remember one time I was massaging her feet in the dressing room, and Aretha Franklin came over and she saw me massaging Gladys's feet. She asked her, she said, baby, Gladys, where'd you get this nigga from? She said, you got any brothers?
That was all. Did you date any other stars? Because we already know you were super popular.
No, I did not. Well, first I want to tell you a story about Gladys.
Okay.
Midnight Train to Georgia, right?
Right.
The backstory. The original song was a country and western song. And the title of the song was Midnight Plane to Houston. So Bubba said, we don't live in Houston. We live in Georgia. And they used to ride on trains during that time. And Gladys said, we don't like to fly. We love the train. Do you mind if we change plane to train and and Houston to Georgia? And he said, will you still record it? And they said, yes. And they said, okay. And so words matter. And it became Midnight Train to Georgia, but also the words that you speak. I train kids. And one of the things I teach kids about not using profanity, but profanity has become the new normal. But I teach kids that profanity is the expression of a weak mind, the strongest expression of a weak mind, because our kids are listening to us. And what we have to do is, in order to eliminate the virus of HIV, hood-infected virus, AIDS, addiction to incarceration and death syndrome, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard because our kids are listening to us. I saw on the internet, this little boy was messing with the magazines and candy and throwing them on the floor. So the cashier leaned over and said, stop doing that. And this little boy, 5 years old, looked up and said, bitch, shut up. So our kids are listening to us. So we have to, I believe, because when I was a kid, you judge your ability to be an adult by the information that you are exposed to. Now our kids are exposed to everything. And so between the ages of 0 and 4 and 7, the professor at the University of Minnesota, Seelman, he said that what we hear between 0 and 7 help us to develop our vision of ourselves. The words that we hear, the things that we see, the experiences that we have, and we form habits, and habits create your future, that download, the clutter in our mind. And so what you're doing when you do your show is helping to declutter the things that in our minds, that commercials that we watch every day, that's not in our best interest, but it fills the pockets of those corporate executives. But it's not something that's focused on our health like the three of you are doing, because you're helping people to do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He said, don't live to eat, eat to live. And so you're teaching people how to develop habits that will allow them to live a healthy, happy, prosperous life, because your health is the ultimate success in life. You don't have your health, you have absolutely nothing.
And that's absolutely true. I know you kind of struggled in the past because you came in here today and said you are 100% cancer-free.
Yes.
So you beat cancer.
Yes, on a regular basis. That we all have cancer cells in our bodies, and cancer cells gone crazy. I received from Cancer Centers of America the Perseverance Award, 39 years, 4th stage prostate cancer. And so when I read Dr. Seelman's book called The Anatomy of an Illness, who was a physicist who was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and that he listened to and watched Lucille Ball and different other comedies on a regular basis. And then when I saw where there are people who change their eating habits, there's a site called Chris Beat Cancer. And then I saw Bernie, what's the guy's name? Joe Dispenza. I started doing research on who lived, because I had a very good oncologist, Dr. Alfred Goldston, who graduated from Howard University. And he said to me, Mr. Brown, I said, yes. He said, I got some bad news. I said, what is it? He said, you have cancer. I said, whoa. I said, is there anything else? He said, your PSA is 2,400. I said, what does that mean, PSA? He said, your prostate-specific antigen. And I said, is there anything else? He said, yes. I said, what? He said, it's metastasized to 7 areas of your body. I said, wow. He said, why in the hell are you smiling? I said, man, cancer is my lucky number. I said, I'm one of 7 children. I was born February the 17th. I said, Joshua marched around the walls of Jericho 7 times. I said, 7 is my lucky number. I asked, is there anything else? He said, yeah. I said, what? He said, you're ugly too. And he said, but I don't tell my patients they're terminally ill. What I say is that my knowledge, my skills have terminated. A diagnosis is not a prognosis. It's not a verdict. He said, this now is in your hands, in God's hands, and you have to figure it out.
No, it's
thank that.
It's crazy because the first thing, because I offered you something to eat, first thing you said is, does it have sugar in it?
Yes.
And I know cancer thrives off of sugar.
Yes.
So you have definitely made yourself aware of what can affect you and obviously change your diet.
And it also thrives off stress. You know, obesity is at an epidemic level. A lot of people are fat because of what they eat, but even more overweight because of what's eating them. So that's why I say I'm cancer-free, I'm debt-free, and I'm drama-free. Pardon me. People have to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to observe things, to see it, and not buy into it. So, because you're buying into it, you're internalizing it, it will affect your immune system. When a doctor says, and in the UK, then a doctor's not allowed to say to someone, you're terminally ill. They'll say, we have to look at putting in some other strategies on how we handle this. Because when someone looks at you with a stethoscope or white jacket and say you're terminally ill, your immune system drops by 40%.
Wow.
Its capacity to protect you from illness.
Wow.
Life is about relationships, and you've been in the limelight now for a bunch of years. How do you manage, like meeting people? And because I feel like the bigger you are, a lot of people try to take advantage. They try to use your image. They try to use knowing that you have money. How do you try to remain pure of heart and try to, manage?
Mr. Washington taught me 3 things that serve me to this day. Number 1, he said, develop your mind, young man, because you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Number 2, he said, develop your communication skills, because once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. And 3, he said, practice a principle of OQP, only quality people. And so I have a very small circle of quality people that I can learn from, that I can grow from, and that when I'm going through some stuff, they help me out. And when they go through some stuff, I help them out. I don't have a lot of friends. You have to be very selective of who you bring into your life. And even people that's in your life, periodically you have to ask yourself the question, what is this relationship doing to me? Am I growing mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially? The majority of people in relationships are dying together rather than living together. There's a guy named Frankie Crocker out of New York. He had a saying. He said, it's better to be alone than to wish you were. Wow. Behave. Don't come for me. I did not call an Uber.
Wait a minute. So you haven't gotten married again?
No.
Is there a reason why?
It's better to be alone than to wish you were.
I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. AD, don't get married.
I just wanted to make sure.
I remember this song I love. I think it's Erykah Badu. I feel lonely whenever you're around.
Damn. Damn.
Yes.
So you never got remarried again, but you had kids. Do you have some kids?
Oh, yes. I have 5. The Lord said, be fruitful and multiply, Josh.
Yes,
I took him seriously.
I heard.
I have 5 boys and 5 girls.
Yeah,
Wow.
10 kids,
Yes.
15 grandkids, right?
Yes, 15 grandkids and 4 great-grandsons.
Ooh, 4
Yeah.
great grandsons, man.
Yes.
The chain keeps going.
and 5 baby mamas.
Damn.
Those my pre-saved years.
Do you ever meet up with Nick Cannon and y'all like
I never
meet
met-
about
not
what's
related
going
at all.
on?
No.
You guys have You're probably the only two in the group of like, well, we got this many kids. We might as well hang
That
out.
Les Brown, who was the man about town, LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single and love to mingle, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to have satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. He's gone. Bam! In order for a man to gain his life, he must lose his life. I've lost him. Don't come for me. I didn't call an Uber.
Yeah, you used to come out in the DJ booth on them
Yes.
down there in Miami.
Yeah, I was a disc jockey in Miami and Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
I have a stupid question.
No, you don't. You have a question because there's no stupidity in you.
You have a twin brother. Is it real about twin telepathy?
Without any question, that's why my brother's at the hotel waiting on me. His wife, they were married for 50 years and 6 months.
Wow.
And so I felt his energy. And I went there and I watched him, observed him at the transitional funeral for his wife. And I said, Wesley, I'm not leaving you here in this house. I said, no. I said, you're coming. You don't have to bring no clothes or nothing. We're going to finish life together. And he's a shell of the person that I once knew. We were separated at 20. He went to Vietnam. He did 2 tours in Vietnam and the Persian Gulf. He was a paratrooper, jumped out of planes 176 times. He walks with a cane, but I said, you're going to get out of this wheelchair and you will not need this cane. Trust me on this. And he suffers from PTSD, so I'm getting help for him. It's a shame of what the military is doing to many of our veterans. They don't have the kind of care that they need. It takes sometimes 5 to 6 months to see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And so I said, I got you, Wesley. I said, if they do their part, fine. But if they don't, I got you. You will never have to worry about anything. So we stay together. He travels with me, and he's seeing a whole new world.
That's cool.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Family's everything.
Yes, it is. But the other thing that if anybody listening had a relative went in the military, my brother said to me 3 weeks ago, he said, Leslie, I was 20 years old when I joined the Army. He said, I killed my first person at 20.
Wow.
And my best friend died in my arms, July the 17th. Always wondered why July the 17th, his personality would change, And when you go in the military, they tell you, don't develop friendships. But you're in that kind of environment, you have to have each other's back. You can't help it. And so he and this guy became very close. And he stepped on a hand grenade and blew his legs off. And he kept screaming Wesley's name as he was holding him, saying, Wesley, please help me. And when he would tell me this, I said, pump your brakes. Come on. You're not emotionally distant from this. I feel you. Don't talk about it now. But I want to tell you, I said, no, stop now. Because you're taking my power away. I need you to focus on the here and the now, Wesley. Please come back, come back, come back. And he said, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Because he was going back there,
Right.
telling the story and reliving the story. Now, that has given me an advantage in speaking and teaching others how to speak. That you can tell a story, but don't just share the story, but experience the experience of the story, and the audience will go there with you, as opposed to people just talking and doing an information dump that they do every day and not concerned about speaking to the hearts of the people that that's listening to them and creating openings in their presentation so your story becomes the audience's story.
Damn.
Yes.
That was, wow.
I am about to rock your world.
Babe, you know you can't handle all of this without your sword.
I swear this never happens.
I guess I'll just text Lancelot. He never has this problem.
No, I am King Arthur. I was worthy of Excalibur, and I'm worthy of sword vitality!
Now that is a sword fit for a king. But do you know how to use it? Become a better man with sword vitality.
How do we fix Josh from his profanity? Because I feel like out of the three of us, he's the one who curses the most.
I don't think you
I'm
have
also
to fix
the one
Josh.
with the most problems.
Yeah, you don't have to fix him. Josh is very intelligent. He knows what he's doing. A lot of people do it for shock. You know, what's that guy's name who had the wine, connoisseur wine? You know,
He's talking about
Jay-
V.
yeah, what is his name?
What's his name?
Gary V?
Gary V. Gary
Yeah.
V.
He
and-
curses a lot.
Yes, and there are a lot of other people that do this. It's a new trend. And first of all, what I admire about Josh, most people, if you give feedback to, they'll get angry. But how people handle stuff says a lot about their character. I admire him with his dirty mouth. I admire him.
I don't.
Because
I really don't.
Finally, somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Because
Thank
he's
God.
I do
he's
not
a
admire
good
Josh.
person. He didn't get mad and say, "You go to hell." He didn't go
He's
there. And
aware of his problems, right?
yeah, no, but he could have done it because you praise in public and criticize in private. So I did it in a humorous way, and he took it that way. He was not offended because he knows who he is. He has a magnanimous character that you can give feedback to, and all of
That's
us
true.
need caring people in our lives that can share with us things, and we don't get offended by it. Say, "Thank you for giving me some indication that I can elevate my conversation," because children are listening to this, and we want our children to embrace languaging and healthy foods that can help them to live a long, healthy, prosperous life.
That's right, Donna. You hear that? I told you I got
That's his
those damn
wife.
containers at the house for the vegetables, and I see the snacks back in the closet, and my damn vegetable things in the cupboard. What's going on? I need my kids to eat the fruits and vegetables. Like I said, he's right. I'll stop swearing. Give my damn kids the food I say, please.
Oh, God. Les, since you always talk about language and the power of language, how do you feel about texting?
I can't type that fast.
But you know how they like shorten the words and all that stuff?
Well, I'm not a texting guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I teach that the best speakers make the fewest words go the farthest. And so it's like the difference between reading I Have a Dream and hearing. Steve Jobs said something. He said the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world. And so in order to create like-minded people and building a culture, a new culture, because this culture we have has been created by words, and we can change it. That's why I'm passionate about teaching others how to take their story at a time where the suicide rate is going. Millions of people are dying from overdoses of drugs, turning to alcoholism or fentanyl, the domestic violence, the road rage, the mass shooters. This is a culture of violence, and it can be changed by people. And the secret is to maintain commitment through all the frustrations and the disappointments that we encounter. I would love to have the opportunity when these young guys are picked up for smash and grab, to teach them how to smash negative behavior and to grab their greatness and teach them how to begin to live a different kind of life. Robert Kennedy Jr. said something that I believe years ago. He said, if we cannot save the many that are poor, we truly cannot save the few that are rich. I saw a guy, he went to the bank, he was followed home by two guys, and they tased him. So you're celebrities. There are people watching y'all. And you are an asset. You're a treasure because you're a piece of the masterpiece of the divine greatness in you. And there are people watching said, hey, he probably got something. Let's take him out. Let's rob him. So we now have to, because of this environment with all the poverty and the desperation, we have to be on constant alert and have people around us to protect us because it's not safe anymore.
Wow. The one thing I think that's really important and we don't have enough of, we don't have enough Les Browns, and we don't have a lot of, at least in the Black community, we don't have a lot of leaders anymore. I just feel like back in the day, there were more leaders, people doing more positive things, and we kind of gravitated towards them. It just seems so different
we
now.
have more communication outlets and less communication.
Okay.
And so what I'm doing is teaching people how to speak to the world. I have people who listen to me from all walks of life. The people that I'm speaking to tonight, over 90% of them are Asian. So I speak all over the world to all type of groups. So I'm teaching and training people how to speak to the world, because every audience that you come on here, there are audiences inside of each audience. So I teach speakers are those who are coaches and people who have a message they want to share with the world, how to unify those various pockets of mindsets to bring them together to hear the conversations that the two of you, the three of you are sharing to create the want to, where they want to take their lives in a direction, where they want to absorb what it is that you're saying, because it's engaging, it's informative, and it's entertaining. And so when we multiply the voices and the personalities that are speaking light to the darkness, I believe that we can change where we are right now and create a new platform of goodness. All things work together for good for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. Every day won't be a good day, but there's some good in every day.
I love that. And the last thing, can you leave our listeners with some final words from Les Brown?
If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and sleep for it, if all that you need ever in life, begin to know that God will never leave you nor forsake you, that you have something special, you have greatness in you. You're a masterpiece because you're a piece of the master. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Bye for now.
All right, y'all out there, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Les
having
Brown
me.
for president. Y'all heard it here first.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I know you've been trying to call me all day, but girl, he just left. And I had to wait till he left to call you because I know I said I was gonna break up with him. But last night, he did like a full 180. He was an animal. Where did this come from? Because you know, I've been telling you, it's been like kind of dull and like something changed. And I don't know what his secret is, but I'm trying to find out. Shh. His secret, sword vitality.